Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, you
Yes.
are
Yeah.
audible.
Thank you.
Louder. Hello. Good afternoon, Dr. Ankita, Priyanka,
Yeah.
Challenge. So, shall we start for today's session?
Yes, yes,
Okay, please continue. Who will be going to start? Dr. Ankita Medi.
yes. I will be going to start.
Okay, Priyanka. Yeah, please.
Rakesh sir,
Yeah.
I hope you're here. Shall I start? Rakesh sir, I guess you are here.
Yes, sir, have joined.
Uh,
Ankita, you can start now.
Yes, yes,
Rakesh,
yes.
sir, has joined.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
I'm here.
thank you.
Okay, welcome, doctor.
Okay.
Hello,
Should,
sir.
hello. How are you all? And Shad, I think I met you earlier also.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Uh, should I start now? I think it's the time is already there.
No, sir, just giving some introduction and some
Okay,
recapitulation of today's session.
okay, that's great. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Ankita Medi, with my co-moderator, Dr. Bimla Singh, welcome you to the second day session of this online training program on disaster resilient built up infrastructure of the institutions, focus on earthquake and fire, organized by National Institute of Disaster Management in collaboration with Center for Environmental Studies, Miranda House. After a very successful and informative session in day one, today's session we have a very important session with by two eminent speakers, Dr. Rakesh Arya from Gujarat University and Dr. Hari Kumar from Geohazards International. Before proceeding towards today's session, I would like to recapitulate first day's session. The session started with the words of appreciation from our principal ma'am, Professor Vijayalakshmi Nanda, for academic guidance and support from Professor Chirastri Ghosh as well as NIDM. We are thankful to Professor Chandan Ghosh and Professor Chirastri Ghosh for their encouraging words of for our initiatives. And uh, Principal ma'am has also promised that the institution will keep its commitment towards the disaster and infrastructure resilience. Yesterday's session, we had two eminent speakers, Mr. Aslam Parvez and Professor Chirastri Ghosh. Professor Aslam Parvez, he talked about the resilience being the critical challenge in the developing nations of Asia, including India, and a better urban planning will also help us to achieve resilience and the formation of safe and sustainable cities. Quantification of risk in terms of vulnerable population is important, and investment in resilient infrastructure is required for future preparedness. Professor Ghosh, in her lecture, highlighted that guidelines for indoor air pollution should be there while considering the indoor air quality based on diverse socio-economic classification. And her study in the Delhi University and surroundings shows that the level of exposure in different socio-economic households and its effects. The most important takeaway from Professor Ghosh's presentation are to improve indoor air quality. We need better building designs and increase ventilation in houses and grow indoor air plants that can improve indoor air quality. Now, today's session, we have Dr. Rakesh Arya from Jawaharlal University and Dr. Hari Kumar from Geohazards International. And today's session will be on risk assessment and mapping and components of disaster management plan in educational institutions. Before inviting Dr. Rakesh Arya for his uh, first lecture, I would like to introduce him. Dr. Rakesh Arya is currently in charge of Map Library in Jawaharlal Nehru University. He has done his master's, MPhil, and PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University. His interest areas are transdisciplinary integration of remote sensing and GIS techniques, and in economics, and population and other social sciences, environment, anthropogenic impacts, and navigation flood simulation. He has excellent working knowledge of different remote sensing and GIS software such as ArcGIS, AirDAS, NVQGIS, and several other softwares. He has been awarded as Best Coordinator National Award for conducting e-learning courses of ISRO for the year 2017 by Indian Institute of Remote Sensing and Indian Space Research Organization. And he has also been involved as a consultant in several projects by United Nations Population Fund, International Institute of Health Management, ISI, and other reputed government organizations. He has good number of research articles published in books and referred journals. And with this, I now invite Dr. Rakesh Arya for his lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Priyanka and Shad and other organizing team. Uh, Definitely, I've been introduced as transdisciplinary expert. So my background has been transdisciplinary. Basically, I am from the anthropology, then travel and tourism management, then geography, then various other subjects. And mapping is my passion, so I try to link the mapping and make it mapping to be made as a something. Means the map should speak itself, and mapping should be real time. That will solve the definitely real time mapping will solve the real world problem. Static mapping, I think, is only just to display or just to visualize only. So my work, or I always try to, whenever I interact with the students, experts, or other stakeholders, my my focus is always on to integrate the things basically from the various discipline, because nothing can work independently. Several other factors, a lot of factors are involved in for certain problems basically. So first of all, I welcome all participants, and my sincere thank to SESDEM. I think CESDM, I'm spelling right. SESDEM team and NIDM team for organizing training program. Uh, Definitely, it is a research as well as a training program for certain sustainable goals. Since it's an online training program and it's a primarily focus on the earthquake and the forest fire, means for fire, may not be forest fire. So I'll try to try to keep concentrated towards this particular topic. Otherwise, there are several other works are also there, like as Madam explained, that is a flood management and flood simulation, GLOF, etc. are also there. It's also basically a type of disaster, but I try to be around that only. My presentation will have the have means have an idea to bridge the gap that is that was left by the traditional fire management, and with the help of technology. And that technology will be definitely a spatial technology as well as the real time addition of the data to the spatial technology, uh, so that means everybody, because we are working in this disaster resilience, so we know that time timely timely information provided will always help to reduce the damages basically. There are various uh, that multi-model plans are required for effective disaster mitigation, and and our focus will always be to help, because that there are several models. If you go to the various research articles, if you type how to manage the forest fire, or if you type how to manage the earthquake or any other disaster, you'll find several models. But every model has certain drawbacks, and our work our work should be always focusing on the strengthening of the model. So in this connection, we just worked on bridging the gap. What was the gap left by the traditional models, and what are the gap left by the various latest satellite imagery? Because the mapping, my topic, I have been given topic. Can I share my slide right now? I have been given permission, Shad.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Please.
So I'll share my entire screen so that I think I'll be communicate better. So it is basically, I think my slide is visible right now.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yeah, it's a risk assessment and mapping, an overview of the forest fire. So risk assessment basically always depends upon the quality of the model that has been used. And its mapping basically are two types, because I had been given this topic and definitely I have been working on this topic for several years. So mapping is definitely of several kinds. It's not just creating a beautiful map like Koro map or Koro map or something like that, or showing the various points on the map and getting a printout. Mapping have several dimensions basically. It's something map should be in a such a way that it should speak itself. It should be auto updated basically. And if we go for the auto updated map, definitely we have to involve the various other technologies there, that are there, like the web technology, and various programming languages will also be used in that particular technology. Like Java language is used, Python is widely used in this web technology. So here I'm trying to focus on the e-forest fire. That is basically our recent work on the state of Arunachal Pradesh. And e-forest fire basically was a voluntary project that ultimately led to the winning of the National Award for E-Governance 2020. And definitely, as I told you, that nothing works independently. We have to be working together with various administrators, various stakeholders, various the experts from the local experts that are there, and local workers that are there in the field, and the village community also. Then only the entire project can work upon. E-forest fire basically and is an initiative basically that was a voluntary initiative, and here we tried to bridge the gap that was left by the Forest Survey of India or by the various other organizations that were using to give the forest fire alerts through the satellite images. The work integrates the various direct and indirect factors of socioeconomy. Definitely, if you go for the modeling, you have to consider the socioeconomy as well as the geographic and climatic factors to find the initial hotspot. Definitely, once you have to know the initial hotspot where there is a vulnerability of forest fire. In this case, forest fire, the similar concept you can apply on the various others, like definitely the earthquake definitely is it's not everywhere. Wherever there is a as the topic explains, wherever there is a faults or the rift lines are there, that earthquake probability will be there. Likewise, in the forest fire, once we have to identify the hotspot, and we have to also correlate with the actual data that is obtained from Forest Survey of India. Definitely, the reported data was by the various beats, means forest beats have reported the data, and that is there with the lat long in the Forest Survey of India, and also with the help of satellite images. It aimed to obtain a predictive model by integrating actual and remote sensing data of fire inducing factors to obtain hotspot. Once hotspots have been identified, the we can we can focus on certain area. We cannot, because if there is something, snow region are there, glaciers are there, why to focus on that region, why to allocate our resources there? First of all, we have to narrow down where the things are happening. For the strategic allocation limited government resource, which ultimately led to the early warning system. So this presentation, I think I have half 40 minutes right now, so I'll try to sum up my presentation. That this presentation has been divided into four parts, like that is its background, methods and models use, outcome, and what should be the next. Means definitely every model, every work is left with certain things, certain questions. What should be the next, and what should be the next should be addressed, and next will never end up. Next will never end up. So we have to. So it's a forest fire. So if we look to the forest fire, we can just look to the immediate past to the present. So if you've seen the pictures, this is very, I think, pictures before the forest fire and after the forest fire. It is showing something that entire land, flora and fauna had been destroyed. And if you see that it's a road going between the forest, and now it's all burned. And here it's a of Australian fire basically. So this pictures itself speaks a lot, that once the fire happens, the flora and flora all get damaged. So our project was aimed to get back to the glorious past, means to restore the glorious past or to stop the things. If the things are reported in time, the damage can be reduced. This was our aim basically. The background further speaks that we know that forest fire destroys millions of hectares of world forest every year. Forest is one of the among major threat for the world's forest. Problem has compounded with the drought, hot weather. You know that there is a certain change because you know that there is a shifting of something you might be experiencing that some season has been shifted. The means it's a might be of within the 10 years or 20 years. The reason means climate plays a very important role for vegetation growth. If there is a certain shift in the weather or the climatic condition, that particular vegetation can resist in that particular the current weather condition. So they get vulnerable in the case. Arunachal Pradesh has over 80% of forest for the for in the Himalayan diversity. Topographical and meteorological factors also contribute a lot. Means it's a topographical means there is a elevation. So if the forest fire is in the bottom, it can easily grow up or easily catch up the fire in the higher elevation. Meteorological factors means dry spells are there, and the shifting cultivation is also one of the major cause because deliberately the forests are being burned, and sometimes it goes in uncontrolled manner. For the it's in North it's called Zoom cultivation basically. So our purpose is to get the right method, right time at right place. So how to achieve, when and where to intervene to mitigate the fire-linked disaster. This is a model, means project outline model. What was happened that there are certain limitations. What we found that there is a lack of public participation first of all. If we go for the satellite based forest fire alert, whether it is basically currently earlier they were using the MODIS data, moderate resolution spectral radiometer, and now they are using the SNPP and VIRS data. Still, it is a two hours of gap up there. The satellite passes through the certain area, and after processing, it becomes 4 hours. In 4 hours, a lot of forest can be destroyed. So so we can, if the locals or the people can participate and give the information in the right time, real time, so the forest fire can be stopped and a lot of damages can be stopped. In the earlier limitation, there was no prediction, there was no predictive model basically. We cannot forest because we know that these are the vulnerable areas, various zones are there fire can be there. So if you know that there are fire are there, so we can allocate our resources there, because definitely resources are limited. Our experts, our the various forest means fire officials are limited, so we can allocate those officials in the certain area where the vulnerability is more. There are also false reporting. How to reduce the false reporting? These are limitations we had seen. So for that, what we did a GIS type of mapping. GIS type of mapping means don't go for the GIS word sunte hi काफी अजीब. There is no foundation of Hindi English, I think. चलेगा हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों ना.
Yes, sir. Yes.
हाँ, होता क्या है जब हम जीआईएस मैपिंग पे जाते हैं हमें लगता है मैपिंग मैपिंग और कंप्यूटर में मैपिंग होती है. ऐसा नहीं होता. जीआईएस अपने आप में एक प्लेटफॉर्म देता है कि आप वेरियस फैक्टर्स को इंटीग्रेट कर सके और डिजिटल वे में, और आप उसको टाइम टू टाइम जब चाहे बदल सकें. मॉडल में चेंज करेंगे कहीं पे और वो आपका मॉडल मतलब मॉडल के किसी भी पार्ट में चेंज करेंगे आपका मॉडल चेंज हो जाएगा. तो हियर इन द जीआईएस मैपिंग वी टुक द वेरियस factors like socio-economic factor, climatic and environmental factors, and other geographic factors like topography is there, and other factors are there. Also, the forest type of trees are there. So these type of factors were integrated together. First of all, to know as I told you earlier, that first of all we tried to find out the initial hotspot based on the existing data. So existing data was taken from the socio-economic, climatic and environment and geographical factors, plus data from the Survey of India. And we tried to create a hotspot. Then there was a gap. Definitely these are the gaps. We have to find out the gap. So for these gap, we had created a mobile app that is called eForest Fire, and right now it is in the development, means we are going into change, and we tried to link that once that data or the local report the data, it directly goes to the system. Definitely, as I told you, WebGIS system definitely, and it data and our model or map itself upgrades. So that is a better way. So these are the basically model, and this model definitely was based on the certain objectives to integrate direct and indirect factor of forest fire to find out the initial hotspot and its correlation with the FSI data, means this particular section, to develop predictive model by integrating socioeconomic, climatic, environmental, geographical factors and FSI data to extract the hotspot at village level. Means our focus was to get the hotspot at the village level. Then strategic allocation and optimal utilization of limited government resources. Definitely resources are limited. So where we have to put the resources that we can have a better judgment basically in this case. To link model with the Android app and WebGIS portal to refine and the prediction with citizen-centric input. To have an efficient information dissemination system, and to have real-time updation of forest fire data. Now, these are the basically major objectives. And how these objectives were achieved? Basically, GIS integrated mapping was done, and various population density, poverty, rainfall, temperature, then geographical factors, forest cover, forest type, elevation, and slope data, etc. were integrated to get the initial hotspot. Forest fire factors are extracted for the modeling purpose, and with the real-time data was provided. Here also we had used the data of that was taken from the Forest Survey of India for initial hotspots. And definitely there are ArcGIS at the time it was used, but now we are also using the open source software like QGIS. It's a very good software. I think the students are also there, so I think you should start learning the QGIS. So it's a good software. There is a lot of plugins also there. So there are various statistics are there. I'm not going to that. So methodology, definitely it was a predictive model. Means we got data downloaded from the forest, means whatever related data we have downloaded. We established correlation with the socioeconomic, climatic, and geographical features. Census data of economic means and economic diversity, and socioeconomic data, population density, etc. were taken. Satellite imagery data was also taken. This is a general flow chart, and here elevation, slope, forest curve, forest type was taken. Climatic factor, temperature, rainfall, then all the integrated to form a GIS mapping basically here. And these were overlaid with using multiplicative factors basically. आप लेयर्स को वेरियस जब ऐड करेंगे तो आपको किस मेथड से ऐड करना है वो भी जानने की जरूरत होती है. तो वी हैड यूज्ड मल्टीप्लिकेटिव फैक्टर्स and we also correlated with the real-time data that was obtained from the Forest Survey of India. Then hotspot identification, and this led to the predictive modeling of the and extraction at the village or block level. And here we can strategically allocate the government resources. What happens basically after doing this thing? Now this is basically based on secondary data and the data from the Survey of India, Forest Survey of India. Now this data should upgrade itself and the new additions, because there might be some false reporting, there might be something definitely if there is means false reporting is also there, because what happens, satellite images definitely captures in infrared region, and the false reporting might be, if it is not a forest fire, then also it reported there sometimes. So that also means model definitely have certain errors. So that error were removed by our citizen-centric app that is called eForest Fire. And for that, I think before going further, I would like to show you one video, if it is allowed, I think. Can I show one video?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is basically a video. Our promo video is for eForest Fire, and let me see if it is visible, and voice is also there. आवाज आ रही है? आवाज आ रही है आप लोगों को?
No, sir.
Ab- See,
Yes, now.
now it's audible. Okay, fine. So now I'm starting this video. I think this will explain a lot of things and give a better idea because it's example of e-forest fire, a forest fire. You can apply this particular idea for the diseases, various disease disaster. You can apply this idea for the earthquake. You can apply this idea for the other disasters also, whether it's a cyclonic disaster, disaster by the cyclone. So prediction is there. Vulnerable zones are being identified, so resources you can allocate accordingly. So I'm going to play this video. It's a very short video, 5 minutes.
These thousands of legends in the elevating and sloping mountains are not the beautiful scene of the mountain, but forest on fire. Fire is one among the major threats for the world's forests, which leads to tremendous loss of biodiversity and changes in several ecosystems. Forest fire destroys millions of hectares of the world's forests every year. There are forest-dwelling communities which are at regular risk. With so many lives and biodiversity at stake, this leaves us with no option but to predict and prevent the wildfire. E-forest fire, Himalayan forest fire prediction, is an e-governance initiative to predict the forest fire for northeastern states of Arunachal Pradesh. The project has utilized decadal forest fire FSI data and mapped it on GIS platform with the objective to analyze forest fire events and its distribution to generate fire hotspots at lowest administrative unit of village level. It developed an efficient information dissemination system through a user-friendly Android mobile app named Forest Fire and linking fire data shared by the citizens on a web GIS portal. The project integrates socioeconomic factors, geographic and other direct and indirect factors to find initial hotspots and its correlation with actual data obtained from Forest Survey of India. The project led to a predictive model by integrating actual and remote sensing data of fire-inducing factors to obtain hotspots at village levels for strategic allocation of limited government resources, which ultimately leads to an early warning system. The app is a fire reporting system, a scientific approach to ease governance by engaging people and promoting e-governance for the end users. It is designed specifically to work in offline mode, which does not require any expertise and has the capability to deliver reports with just a click. Input is taken to get the exact location of the fire. After hitting submit button, citizens can contact concerned district forest officer through email, WhatsApp, or SMS by a pre-designed standardized message or through telephone or mobile call. Each input generates a data point which can be projected onto the web portal to get a bird's eye view of state forest fire and to revise the model with greater accuracy. The study that has been published in the Springer Journal predicts a list of 560 priority villages of high forest fire risks. Fire points used had fewer data resolution, which compromised the project strength, but the efficiency has been improved with citizen-centric inputs through the app. The project has brought people closer to the government functionaries by ensuring a meaningful people participation mechanism for other environment, forest, and wildlife-related issues as well. As reported, forest fire incidences in Arunachal Pradesh this year were 31% less in comparison to the period before the start of the project. The state has been able to save tremendous loss to the biodiversity, flora and fauna, human life and public property by the initiative of e-forest fire, which has not only raised awareness among citizens but enabled government officials to create fire lines, watchtowers, etc. at the right place at the right time, and fire could be checked before its occurrence. It has helped government agencies in taking important policy decisions during fire-linked disaster management and in tackling cases of forest fires, thereby minimizing the damage. Blaze of flame, we lose so much, but our lives remain the same. We must learn from what is broken, predict, prevent, and grow again.
I hope that voice was also clear in this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this was the one of the thing where we applied the technology as well as the GIS mapping, means mapping as well as the technology. So what happens that when we come to the presentation, आप इसको if you see that this is the case of forest fire. Here there might be a lot of improvement, there is scope of improvement in the data model, basically what type of data we are using. So because this training session, basically online training session, is basically also for the students, I think, of the Mirinda House. So and also from the various stakeholders are there. So let me tell you that this is the one of the initiative, and this particular type of initiative to link, because mapping is the strength, and if the real time mapping is added, it has a strength added to the multiple times. So what happens that if the real time data integrates into the mapping, so if the mapping becomes real time, so definitely it has to come through the means the various technology, like the WebGIS technology. Means the web means GIS capability transferred to the webs. Means whatever we see, like Google Maps is there, it's a WebGIS basically. Google Earth is a WebGIS. If you see Nokia here is a WebGIS. Whatever mapping functionality we see or we receive through the browser in our desktop, or we send to the other desktop, it is a WebGIS. And here, definitely, along with the mapping or the traditional geographic or environmental knowledge, we have to know something about the small codings. Small codings are there, and these codings are basically well integrated to the JavaScripts. And for the JavaScript, a lot of free library and free softwares, open source softwares are available for working in that. Like you can just work upon the means the Atom is there, a lot various type of the means my email will be there. If somebody is interested in that, they can, or you can just, they can work with me, I can just guide them through which particular, what's the best particular software or coding platform through which they can create their WebGIS maps. So before going further, I just tell you that it's a technology, there's a technological background also there in general mapping framework. Definitely we are basically there. If you go to the commercial, like ArcGIS Enterprise is a commercial WebGIS mapping platform. It is a very costly for us, because as a student it's very costly. So definitely initially we try to move for the open source software. Open source WebGIS software, open source means open to use. Without, even if you use it for the commercial purpose or for the personal purpose, for a research, they will not going to tell you, or they are not going to claim you. There are restricted use softwares are also there where you cannot use it for the commercial purpose. Open source software, like I think many of you are basically exposed to this open source software, like QGIS, UDIG, OpenJump. These are the various open source softwares are there. These are the desktop softwares. And if the desktop software's mapping facility, if you want to project to the others or integrate the real-time data, definitely we have to know little about HTML, cascading style sheet, CSS, and JavaScript. It's a basic web development languages. And these are basically, there are various libraries. Libraries means कहते हैं ना कि बने बनाए कोड और बने बनाए प्लेटफॉर्म अवेलेबल हैं, जिनके थ्रू आप जो है इसको दिखा सकते हैं. थोड़ा सा हल्की सी बेसिक नॉलेज की जरूरत होती है. आप यदि आप स्टूडेंट्स हैं, एक 4-5 महीने भी लगाते तो आप बढ़िया से सीख पाएंगे। क्योंकि देखिए होता क्या है, आप मैप बनाते हैं, आपके पास रह गया मैप, या आप उसको पब्लिश करते दिखा पाते हैं, कहते हैं ना जंगल में मोर नाचा किसने देखा, है ना। वही मैप और रियल टाइम फंक्शनलिटीज को थ्रू वेब सबको दिखा दें तो ज्यादा लोग उसको यूज कर पाएंगे, ज्यादा लोग देख पाएंगे और ज्यादा दूर तक वो उसका इफेक्ट होगा और रियल टाइम इफेक्ट होगा। तो मैपिंग लाइब्रेरीज है, लाइक बूट स्ट्रैप बने बनाए कोड्स हैं, टर्फ है, मैप लिबर है, लीफलेट है, जे क्वेरी है, बने बनाए कोड्स हैं। इनको इस्तेमाल करने का बस थोड़ा बहुत तरीका होता है। बीच में क्या होता है कि मिडिलवेयर, मैं क्यों बता रहा हूँ इसको, देखिए अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस फॉरेस्ट फायर आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू मींस डेफिनेटली इफ इट इज मैपिंग एंड समथिंग, mapping and risk assessment, you know that by this, and mapping I think I should go to the certain it's a framework how it is basically mapping was done. The map server, geo server, gle and geo network, these are the open source basic mapping softwares, or you can say that small software that can be installed in a system. Here we have used the geo server in this particular thing. The geo server is a open source, it's all open source. These are act as a middleware basically, दो चीजों के बीच का काम करते हैं मिडिलवेयर। और इनको खूब अच्छी तरह लॉग इन लॉग आउट दिखाना चाहें, या आप बढ़िया से जैसे नहीं अपना किसी को रेस्ट्रिक्ट करना चाहें, या और बढ़िया से कहते हैं ना इसको फ्रेम जैसे नहीं एक कहते हैं ना ब्यूटीफुल प्रेजेंटेशन दिखाना चाहें, तो उसके लिए भी लाइब्रेरीज है जो फ्रंट हेड लाइब्रेरीज होती हैं। सॉरी ये बैक एंड लाइब्रेरीज है, बेसिकली पीएचपी होता है, node.js होता है, पाइथन है, जिडाल है, जियोडिंगो है, या जियो पांडास है। ये लाइब्रेरीज होती है, सिर्फ नाम के लिए आप अभी समझ नहीं पाएंगे, ये मेरे ख्याल से स्नैपशॉट या रिकॉर्डिंग भी हो रही होगी, इसको देखेंगे तो समझ जाएंगे आप डेफिनेटली। तो आप ये बैकएंड लाइब्रेरीज हैं, और डेफिनेटली जो डेटा होगा वो भी कहीं तो जाना चाहिए, डेटा शुड बी देयर। अब फॉरेस्ट फायर के डेटा है, जो फॉरेस्ट फायर के इवेंट का डेटा है हमारे केस में है, वो कहीं तो रखा होगा, कहीं तो होगा। तो उसके लिए ओपन सोर्स क्या है, मोंगो डीबी है या माई एसक्यूएल है, माई सिक्वल कहते हैं इसको। हम क्या इस्तेमाल करते हैं ज्यादातर, पोस्ट जीआईएस एंड पोस्ट ग्री एसक्यूएल, पोस्ट ग्रेस कहते हैं उसको, उसको इस्तेमाल करते हैं। यानी कि हमने क्या इस्तेमाल किया, पोस्ट जीआईएस, दिस पर्टिकुलर अपर वाला जहाँ पे मेरा कर्सर है, जियो सर्वर, लीफलेट का इस्तेमाल किया, और ये पूरी लाइब्रेरी एंड क्यूजीआईएस का इस्तेमाल किया। आप इससे बेहतर बना सकते हैं, और अच्छी फ्रंट एंड लाइब्रेरीज को इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए। ब्यूटीफुल मैप्स होते हैं जैसे दिखाने के लिए, तो आप जो है रिएक्ट या आप angular.js का दिखा सकते हैं। यदि आप चाहते हैं कि भाई ज्यादा मेहनत मुझे नहीं करनी है, मैं ज्यादा कोडिंग नहीं कर सकती या कर सकता हूं, तो आप बने बनाए प्लेटफॉर्म को इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, जो जियो नोड है, मैप स्टोर है, जियो टूल्स है, सीकैन है, इनका इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। इनमें आपको डेटा ऐड करना पड़ेगा, और डेटा सिर्फ ऐड करना होगा, एक छोटा मोटा ट्यूटोरियल मिल जाएगा मैप स्टोर वगैरह का, उसमें कर सकते हैं। तो आपको ये कोडिंग वाला सिस्टम बच जाएगा। यदि आप चाहते हैं अपनी कोडिंग अपने हिसाब से, तो आप यहाँ पे कर सकते हैं, अदरवाइज बने बनाए यहाँ पे मिल जाएंगे। जैसे कि यदि मैं आपको दिखाना चाहूँ तो सिंपली इफ इट इज देयर, आई डोंट नो इफ इट इज देयर, तो सपोज मैं कहूँ कि अब ब्यूटीफुल मैप्स कुछ दिखाना चाहें आप किसी चीज को, तो आपके बने बनाए फ्रंट एंड लाइब्रेरीज हैं, मैप बॉक्स हैं, आप उनमें दिखा सकते हैं। यदि मैं देखता हूँ, सपोज ये है आपका, ये बेसिकली चाइल्ड ट्रैफिकिंग का डेटा है। चाइल्ड ट्रैफिकिंग पर यानी कि आप मतलब यहाँ से ये सोर्स एरिया है जहाँ पे रेड रेड दिख रहा है, जहाँ पे ब्लू से, या डेस्टिनेशन एरिया है, बच्चे कहाँ से किस एरिया में जाते हैं ये आपको दिखा रहा है। तो ये क्या होता है, ये बेसिकली जो मैं यहाँ पे दिखा रहा था आपको, ये ब्यूटीफुल लाइब्रेरीज हैं। अब इसमें मैप स्टोर वगैरह की लाइब्रेरीज हैं, जिनका हम इस्तेमाल करके ब्यूटीफुल मैप्स दिखा सकते हैं। आप चाहे तो मैप स्टोर को इटसेल्फ बाय इटसेल्फ आप दिखा सकते हैं मैप स्टोर से। तो आपको क्या कहता है, आपको यदि आपको रियल टाइम में जाना है, रियल टाइम डेटा इंटीग्रेट करना है, तो क्या चीज, दो चीजें चाहिए होंगी, एक तो वेब जीएस प्लेटफॉर्म, दूसरा एक आपका बेसिकली एंड्रॉइड ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल होता है, तो एंड्रॉइड बेस्ड ऐप आप करवा सकते हैं। एंड्रॉइड बेस्ड ऐप बनाने के लिए भी सेवरल प्लेटफॉर्म है, जहाँ पे कोडिंग की जरूरत नहीं है आप लोग के लिए। मैं एज ए स्टूडेंट्स के लिए ज़्यादातर बता रहा हूँ, मैं इस पर्टिकुलर क्लास में कोडिंग की ज़्यादा जरूरत नहीं है। उसमें आप जा सकते हैं, बेसिकली आप यहाँ पे होता है, होता है MIT ऐप इन्वेंटर। मैं आपको इसलिए बता रहा हूँ कि आप लोग में से शायद कोई लोग इसमें इंटरेस्टेड हो। MIT ऐप इन्वेंटर में जाके सिर्फ ब्लॉक अरेंजमेंट होता है, यहाँ पे अपना आप क्रिएट ऐप बना सकते हैं। आपको ब्लॉक होता है, सिर्फ आपको ना लॉजिक्स को अरेंज करना होता है, आपका ऐप क्रिएट हो जाता है। तो इस तरह के इस पे भी मैंने कई सारे ऐप बनाए हुए हैं, तो आप लोग भी इस चीज में ऐप बना सकते हैं। होता है कि आपको रिसर्च और आपका वर्क टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ मिलकर एक नए रिजल्ट्स को ला सकता है। मेरा बनाने का पर्पस यहाँ पे ये है। अब मैं आगे बढ़ता हूँ। ये तो आप आपके रिकॉर्डिंग में रहेगा, स्नैपशॉट ले सकते हैं इसका पर्टिकुलर। डेफिनेटली आई हैव टू टेक इट फॉर द टेक क्षेत्र एंड उनसे मैंने लिया है, और इसी टाइप का प्लेटफॉर्म ही होता है मोटा मोटी, इसमें सारा कुछ इंक्लूडेड है। तो यहाँ पे देखेंगे आप, इसके जो मेरे जो फॉरेस्ट फायर मैपिंग का था उसका जो है सोशियो इकोनॉमिक के मैप अलग बना हुआ है, क्लाइमेटिक इन्वायरमेंटल का मैप अलग बना हुआ है, पॉपुलेशन डेंसिटी का मैप अलग बना हुआ है। इनसे इन सबको मिला के ये आपने ऑलरेडी वीडियो में देख लिया है। एक इनिशियल हॉटस्पॉट्स, इनिशियल हॉटस्पॉट्स को बनाया, फिर फॉरेस्ट कवर्स को भी वेरियस ग्रिड्स में कन्वर्ट किया, फॉरेस्ट टाइप को भी ग्रिड में कन्वर्ट किया। इन सबको करके हमने FSI हॉटस्पॉट डेटा को भी इस्तेमाल किया, और हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया इन सब के बेस पे 560 विलेजेस आउट ऑफ 5258 सेटलमेंट लोकेलिटीज, उनमें जो है इतने जो है आपके ज्यादा वल्नरेबल हैं 560 विलेजेस, जो इसमें भी आपके 224 हाई रिस्क टाइप में है। जब देखा हमने तो हमने कहा भैया ऐसा करो, सब जगह लगाने पे, मैन पावर लगाने पे, ऑफिशियल्स बैठाने से अच्छा इन पे कंसंट्रेट करो, शायद फायदा हो जाए। तो उसका रिजल्ट भी हमें मिला 33%, जो हमने फॉरेस्ट फायर इवेंट को कम कर पाया। ये बेसिकली सेम जो हमने इसमें दिखाया था, जो हमारा ई फॉरेस्ट फायर जो है आपका, उसमें जो है इस तरह से काम करता है। प्री डिजाइंड आपके मैसेजेस होते हैं, कोई लेमैन भी आप सिर्फ जाए, टिक क्लिक करे और कहे रिपोर्ट करना है, तो इसमें क्या होता है डायरेक्शन। आप आग के बीच में जाके तो इसको फोटो लेंगे नहीं। आपने देखा दूर जंगल में आग लगी है, धुआं उठ रहा है तो वहां पे आग लगी होगी, यही प्रिडिक्ट करते हैं। थोड़ा ज्यादा धुआं उठा तो आग लगी, तो आप दूर से फोटो खींचेंगे। तो इसमें क्या होता है कि आपका एजिमुथल डायरेक्शन, किस डायरेक्शन में आग लगी हुई है, कितना डिस्टेंस पे हो सकती है, जो फोटो खींचते हैं उसके साथ सब कुछ इंटीग्रेट हो जाता है। और इंटीग्रेट होने के बाद से आप कंसर्न फॉरेस्ट फायर ऑफिशियल के पास पहुंच जाता है, और वो उस पर एक्शन ले सकते हैं। तो ये ऐप और भी अभी आपका जो स्विफ्ट लैंग्वेज जो आपका इसमें एप्पल में इस्तेमाल होता है, एप्पल फोन में इस्तेमाल होता है, उसके लिए भी डेवलप कर रहे हैं हम लोग धीरे धीरे। तो ये कर रहे हैं। इससे क्या होता है, वेरियस हॉटस्पॉट जनरेट होते हैं। उन हॉटस्पॉट्स को जनरेट करने के बाद से हम जो होता है एक्चुअल आपका डेटा, और आपका जो डेटा ऑब्टेन फ्रॉम द सिटीजन सेंट्रिक अप्रोच, मीन्स द वेरियस सिटीजन्स और वी एंड यू आर हुज वर रिपोर्टेड, उनको इंटीग्रेट करके हम मॉडल को स्ट्रेंथन करते रहते हैं। और definitely we over the time we were able to reduce, we got data from the NASA also, वहाँ से मंगाया था हमने। उससे पता चला 31% कुछ ज़्यादा फॉरेस्ट फायर इवेंट कम हुए हैं। रीज़न और भी हो सकते हैं, जरूरी नहीं हमारा एपी हो, लेकिन और भी रीज़न हो सकते हैं। तो इसमें क्या हुआ, हमने बेनिफिट पाया, राइट डिसीजन एट राइट टाइम एट राइट प्लेस, स्ट्रेटेजिक एलोकेशन ऑफ गवर्नमेंट रिसोर्सेज, एफिशिएंसी गॉन अप ड्यू टू द सिटीजन सेंट्रिक अप्रोच, क्योंकि उनमें अवेयरनेस भी होता है, भाई बताना है, करना है। और क्या फोटो के साथ भेज रहे हैं तो क्या होता है, और हमने अदरवाइज डेफिनेटली इसमें हम सोच रहे हैं कुछ इंसेंटिव्स वगैरह भी लगा दें, कि जो रिपोर्ट करेगा तो फॉरेस्ट फायर और रियल इवेंट को रिपोर्ट करेगा तो उसको हम इंसेंटिव देने की कोशिश करेंगे, या कहा हमने या कोई अवार्ड भी देने की कोशिश करेंगे, तो लोग ज़्यादा पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे। स्पीडी सर्विस डिलीवरी एंड कॉस्ट मिनिमाइजेशन हो जाता है, मीनिंगफुल पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन, एंड इट्स डेफिनेटली अ टाइप ऑफ ई गवर्नेंस अप्रोच। सो हमारे पास अभी टाइम है थोड़ा सा। इसका जो समरी एंड आउटकम तो हमने बता ही दिया है आपको। अब क्या होता है वो तो हमने वीडियो में भी बता दिया था। इससे पहले क्या मोडिस एंड VIRS डेटा का इस्तेमाल होते थे। अब क्या होता है कि इसको भी इस्तेमाल करें तो ज़्यादा अप्रोच होगा, और ये अब हम पैन इंडिया पे भी काम कर रहे हैं इस पर। अभी तो अरुणाचल प्रदेश के लिए था, पैन इंडिया पे भी काम कर रहे हैं। होता क्या है कि हमने बताया कि व्हाट नेक्स्ट, बेसिकली जब वी प्लान टू इंक्लूड ऑटोमेटिक वॉच टावर सेंसर्स, होता है कहीं कहीं पे लोग नहीं होते हैं, या खास तौर से अरुणाचल प्रदेश जैसी जगह पे हर जगह सेटलमेंट नहीं होता है, लेकिन फॉरेस्ट फायर इवेंट नेचुरल कॉजेज से भी लगते हैं। तो वहां पे उन पोजीशन को आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए हम जीआईएस का भरपूर इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। और क्योंकि जीआईएस का इस्तेमाल आप जानते ही होंगे, यदि ये नहीं जानते तो बता देता हूँ, कि आप जो मोबाइल नेटवर्क के टावर में होता है उसके लिए भी जीआईएस का इस्तेमाल होता है। उसको कहते हैं क्लटर, या क्लटर मैप्स बनवाते हैं, क्लटर कहते हैं उसको। और उसमें कहते हैं 2D 4D टाइप का मैप्स होते हैं एलिवेशन के साथ, कहाँ पर टावर लगेगा, क्या होगा। शायद यहाँ पे जल्दी अपग्रेड नहीं होता है, अदरवाइज हर एक कंट्री में 6 महीने में, साल भर में उस मैप को अपडेट किया जा सकता है। कोई बिल्डिंग आ गई तो उसके वहां पे जो है कोई आपका सिग्नल ना जाए। इसी प्रकार इसमें भी हमने कहा कि जो रीजन जहाँ पे लोग पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए नहीं है वहाँ पे ऑटोमेटिक वॉच टावर कर दें, जिसके सेंसर ऑटोमेटिकली हमारा सर्वर में डेटा भेजता रहे। एक्चुअली सर ई फॉर अदर रीजन्स हमारा पर्पज है, हरियाणा के लिए भी कोशिश कर रहे हैं, वहाँ पे भी करना है हमें। होता क्या है कि आप जीआईएस का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं वॉच टावर्स लगाने के लिए। आप सर्विस एरिया देख सकते हैं, कौन सा एरिया आपका शेडो जोन में आता है, कौन सा एरिया आपका सीधे में आता है। तो ये आप कई तरीके से इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं पर्टिकुलर चीज़ों को। इसी प्रकार का एक हमने मलेरियल हॉटस्पॉट के लिए भी किया था, और इसके लिए भी एक ऐप अवेलेबल है जिसको कहते हैं मॉस्किटो लोकेटर ऐप अवेलेबल है। ये स्टार्टिंग में वॉलंटरी करा था हमने, और हमारा कुशीनगर और गोरखपुर उसके लिए था, क्योंकि आप जहाँ समझ रहे हैं कि जहाँ पे डिजीज होगी वहाँ पे कोई ना कोई कारण होगा। तो सेम मेथड्स को हमने इस्तेमाल किया था उसके लिए भी। इसके लिए भी एक हमारा एक ऐप है जिसको कहते हैं मॉस्किटो लोकेटर ऐप। तो इस प्रकार से आप अपनी जो भी whatever study you do, whatever disaster you study, you can integrate your research knowledge, your theoretical knowledge, and your technological knowledge. If you don't have, don't worry, you can take the help of others. You can integrate technology plus the theoretical knowledge to bring out amazing results. So that was basically our aim to for this presentation, and this was definitely already explained. So if there are any questions, you can ask about me about softwares, method, data, etc., or any other thing. You can get my WhatsApp number can be circulated, and you can get WhatsApp me if you want to know that which type of softwares we should use for the technology. So it will be great, I think. Thank you very much. You can ask any questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such a detailed, informative lecture on risk assessment and mapping on forest fire. We got to know about the integration of all the information into the predictive models, which is very, very important in risk assessment mapping. And we also have got to know about the e-forest fire application and other important mobile application, which also the participants with their information and knowledge can prepare. So thank you so much. And I'm sure that the participants have already benefited from your lecture. So thank you so much for your presentation. We will take up all the questions and queries at the end of the session. So you can write your query or questions in the chat box.
Thank you very much.
Now, over to you, Vimla.
Thank you, Ankita. We have Dr. Hari sir with us. I'm audible to all of you?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Dr. Hari sir is with us.
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
I just got permission to put on my camera, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh Arya sir. Thank you so much for your very informative presentation on the forest fire, e-forest fire.
Thank you very much.
Now we have our next eminent speaker, Dr. Hari Kumar. So, Dr. Hari Kumar sir, basically he is going to discuss on the components of a disaster management plan in an educational institution. Before inviting him, I would like to introduce him. Dr. Hari Kumar is a regional coordinator for South Asia Delhi Geohazard International India. So with profession, Dr. Kumar is civil engineer with more than 34-year experience in the field of safe shelter, disaster risk management, and earthquake risk reduction. And Dr. Kumar also coordinated the pilot seismic retrofitting project for Lifeline building in India. In Aizawl, Mizoram also, he has coordinated a comprehensive approach to address extreme landslide and earthquake risk. And he also coordinated evidence-based planning using realistic and detailed scenario. Dr. Kumar also conceptualized and managed earthquake risk reduction projects for Government of India and the UNDP. He developed training manuals as well as he implemented extensive training for engineers and masons to build safer in cyclone, flood, and earthquake-prone areas. Dr. Kumar also served on the NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority Task Force for formulation of national landslide risk management strategies, and the project technical community for the Committee for the finalization of the Earthquake Disaster Risk Index for Zone 4 as well as 5 areas. And he also served as on NDMA core group for the National School Safety Guidelines and for the National Hospital Safety Guidelines. So, Dr. Kumar holds his PhD degree in risk mitigation planning from the Indian Institute of Engineering Services, Engineering Sciences and Technology, Kolkata, and also have MBA in disaster management from Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, Delhi, and also he hold a BTech in civil engineering from Manipal Institute of Technology. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Hari sir to speak on the given topic. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, ma'am, and Arya sir also. I was listening to his wonderful presentation and quite enlightening, I must say, and I'm sure the participants are gaining much by it. Do you see my screen and am I audible and visible?
Yes, sir. You are audible as well as visible both.
My screen is also visible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is, Dr. Arya did the tough task of keeping everyone awake after lunch. So I'm trying to continue what he has achieved. So we come to the disaster preparedness for educational institutions. I'll just touch upon a few things. A basic background about us is that we work on basically on safety of educational institutions and hospitals are some of the key things that we do. We work quite a bit on the safety of students and also the safety of health institutions like hospitals. Working across the region, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar are the countries we cover from the Delhi office. So I'm based in Delhi. And it was a pleasure to be in Miranda House for a presentation. I think it was in December. So yeah, why institutions should be safe? I believe that the students are one of the most valuable segments of any culture or any society, and the future rests in their hands. That is one aspect, that they are really precious. Then we also consider students as among the most vulnerable, especially the young ones. Young students, the ill, the elderly are generally the most vulnerable segments of society. And the third thing, and I think the most important thing, is that students generally, don't have any choice in deciding the safety of their environment. A student cannot decide that, okay, I will only study in a college which has a disaster management plan, or I will only study in an institution where the buildings are earthquake resistant or fire resistant. I mean, they don't have a choice. We tried, especially in Delhi, we try to get admission. That itself is a big thing. So we really do not have a choice. And it is really, really important that all institutions actually consider safety, because, we are talking about the right to education. Few would disagree that our younger generation deserves the right to education, but I believe we should go one step further, and it should not be a right to education, it should be a right to a safe education. You cannot have students, you cannot get them all together and keep them in unsafe, unprepared surroundings. Keeping them safe is our prime responsibility, and that is our responsibility to the nation, because as we say, these are our future. They are our future, and we need to keep them safe. But time and again, we have failed, our children, our students with unprepared educational institutions. There have been several examples across the world where educational institutions have been affected by incidences like a fire or an earthquake or in floods. institutions have been affected. And communities really remain unaware of the risks, unaware of solutions. I mean, first of all, you need to know you are at risk. That itself is missing in many cases. Arya sir was talking about risk assessment. Something which is missing. We hardly understand our risk, and then only after having an understanding, we try to really work towards reducing that risk. And so we are unaware of the solutions and unprepared when disasters strike. And then we say, oh, this is all God's will. No, we could have done something about it. We could have understood our risk. We could have prepared. And when people do become aware, they are sometimes left with a sense that disaster risk reduction is really, one, it is not possible, that they feel that it's not possible. What can I do? That is one way of looking at it, one wrong way of looking at it. And then the other way is that it will all be done by the Disaster Management Authority, the Delhi Disaster Management Authority, or the District Disaster Management Authority, or the National Institute of Disaster Management. They are responsible for keeping everyone safe, not us at Miranda House, or be at any other, any institution. It is our responsibility. It is not someone else's responsibility. It is ours. And disasters are not inevitable. We can prevent them. Most of the deaths in disasters are avoidable. There have been, like I mentioned, in a residential school, this was one of the schools, one of the thousands of schools that were lost in Gujarat during the January 26 Gujarat Earthquake. Even though it was Republic Day, still there were people, children in schools out to mark the occasion, and they were lost to the earthquake. Then in Pakistan, occupied Kashmir, 2005, 7.8 magnitude earthquake. 77,000 people died, but over 18,000, nearly 20,000 of them were in educational institutions. We had another earthquake in Sikkim, September 18, 2011, a 6.9. This is an educational institution, photograph of an educational institution. However, no one died here because it was a Sunday evening. This earthquake was on a Sunday evening. We go back, we see the Kashmir earthquake, where so many people died in Pakistan, but no one died on the Indian side because it was October 8th. It was the second Saturday, a holiday. Lucky India. Go back one more slide. We look at Republic Day. That was a holiday, school holiday. Again, lucky India. Sikkim earthquake, Sunday evening, lucky India. 2015 Nepal earthquake, Saturday. Again, luck was the one which helped Nepal and India, because it affected a lot of Bihar and Sikkim. The effects of this earthquake was felt in India as well. It was felt in Delhi also, but the devastating effects were felt in Bihar and Sikkim. And luckily, no education institution was affected. In Nepal, you can see this. This is, there's a nice board there, school area, drive slow. But it's just only that the school is not there anymore. And you can imagine if this school building was full of children, the number of casualties that would have happened if this earthquake had happened on any other day. If you know, Saturday is the only holiday in Nepal. Sundays are working days, and this earthquake luckily happened on a Saturday, and hence a bigger tragedy was averted. And our institutions, like this is DPS Srinagar, where this is the normal time DPS school, and then you see what happened during the 2015 floods. No lives were lost because there was enough early warning and schools were given holiday early enough. But that doesn't happen always. Just yesterday, Guwahati had one of the most rainy days in recent history. Schools were on, and by 11 o'clock, the schools the district collector declared the schools were closed, and the schools and colleges were left with the task of getting the children back home. It's not easy. When your entire city is flooded, it is not easy. We're hearing from friends that some of their children in school buses got home. 11 o'clock, the schools were dispersed, and some of the children got home by 8 o'clock in the night. How devastating could this have been if the schools are not prepared at all? This is there in our brochure itself, the fire in a coaching center. It's really tragic how children were packed together, students studying for various coaching, and they were packed together, and there was a fire. And it is told that some of them were seated on tires, which is why it accounts for the black smoke. And many of them, we lost a lot of students in that tragedy with a coaching center with just one exit and no evacuation plan and no evacuation drill, no thought on preparedness. It's strangely sad. I mean, are we prepared for such scenes? Should we prepare to see more of such scenes, or should we prepare to avoid such scenes? Avoidance is always better. We have to be prepared to avoid these scenes. And what are we preparing for? When I believe we are addressing more the students and teachers in Delhi. So what are we preparing for? I mean, we should consider, I'm just, because this is an NIDM, we had to include all hazards which can be covered. So hazards in and around us, definitely fires is one, earthquake is one, landslide could be, floods, tsunamis if you are in the coastal area, cyclone more if you are in the coastal areas. So windstorms, what else? That is the one of the most important questions. What else is our institution preparing for? That you can get, but how do we, which are close to our institution, like if your college is right next to a petrol pump, or if there is a high tension wire passing over your college campus or near your college campus, those have to be considered as hazards. So we need to, when we are preparing an institution's disaster management plan, you have to consider all the hazards that can happen, even the local hazards which are close to the college or within the college as well. We talk a little bit about, I know fire safety must have been covered here, and just a little bit about fire safety. What is fire? I mean, we should understand that it is a chemical reaction, and there are three elements which should come together for a fire to happen. The three elements in a fire triangle: heat, a source of heat. It could be a spark, it could be a matchbox, it could be an electrical spark, anything which provides the heat. And fuel is something that can burn, and definitely oxygen. And of these, what all are present in the room in which, wherever you are sitting, you may be sitting at home, you may be at college, but two of these elements are present wherever you are. Oxygen is there. Is fuel anywhere near you? Is fuel near you? You're probably sitting on a wooden chair or any chair. Your clothes are fuel. You are fuel yourself, actually. Anything which can burn, I would call fuel here. So all we need is the third element to come together. We are just waiting for a spark to have what may be a big fire. So this is very important to know that these three elements should come together, but it's also that if we remove one of these elements, the fire will stop automatically. So when firemen pour water over a fire, they are removing the heat. If somebody puts sand over a fire, they're cutting out the oxygen supply, the fire and the oxygen. They're cutting out the oxygen supply to the fire. And many a time when firemen respond, what they do is they remove all the furniture in the next room so that there is no fuel to catch fire. So remember the fire triangle and how removing one of the elements can actually stop the fire. And for when you're planning for fire safety in your institution, first of all, minimize the chance of a fire. Understand where all can a fire start. You read about any fire in any place, in the next day's newspaper, we all see that it is attributed to short circuit. That is a lazy newspaper journalism. They don't find the exact cause. It's very easy to just write short circuit. It might be something else. It could be an overloaded plug point. Normally what we do is we have multi-pins on multi-pins on multi-pins, and a plug point which is supposed to take the load of one equipment is now taking the load of 6 equipments. It's overheating. It's not short circuit. It's somebody's mind has been short circuited that they are overloading the plug. So there could be various reasons for a fire to start, and we have to be aware of what all can cause a fire. So, and we need to minimize the chance of the fire. And if a fire can be detected early, every fire starts small, and then it transforms into a bigger fire. It starts small. So early discovery will be very, very helpful in fighting the fire. And if you have fire alarms installed in your institution, that will give you enough warning to be able to control the fire and inform the fire department. We need to restrict the fire spread, try to put out the fire. I'm sure your institution has a lot of fire extinguishers. My only question would be, who will use those? How many of you are trained to use that? If the answer is there are many of you students and teachers who can use fire extinguishers, nothing like it. Very good. Executing the fire. Or, otherwise, I've seen many institutions where there is, enough fire extinguishers available, but they are just decorative pieces because no one in the institution knew how to use it or ever had used one in their lives. It's very, very important to actually handle it, feel the weight, understand how it works. It's not rocket science. It's very easy to learn, but somebody would have to teach you to do that. And Delhi Fire Service, more often than not, they are very, very happy to come to institutions and do demonstrations for you. And finally, evacuating the building. How do we evacuate the building? Just running down the stairs, helter-skelter is not evacuation. Evacuations have to be planned. Otherwise, they would lead to stampedes. And that has happened in many institutions, where stampedes have killed more people than the fire itself. Before the fire, what can you do before the fire? We need to identify the nearest exits, understand your building, how many exits are there, which are the staircases, and practice using fire extinguishers, install smoke alarms, and involve the fire department, as I mentioned, for drills in your college. Now let us move on to earthquakes and earthquake hazard. Delhi, as you all know, has a high earthquake risk, and most of it emanating from the Himalayas. And this picture is that of the tectonic map of the world. And all the earthquake problems are created because of these, what we call plates. What are these plates? Actually, the outer surface of the earth layer, what is called the crust, is not made up of one piece. It's made up of several broken pieces. And these pieces are moving with respect to each other because of the Earth's rotation. And sometimes they are colliding with each other, sometimes they are sliding against each other, sometimes they are moving away from each other. The Indian plate, is a very small piece in this large jigsaw puzzle of tectonic plates. We are a very small piece, but we are a very mobile piece. We are trying to push the Eurasian plate upwards. We are trying to move in the northeasterly direction. The Indian plate is trying to move in the northeasterly direction and pushing against. You can see how large the Eurasian plate is. You know, it is a David and Goliath situation. The Indian plate is trying to push something which is actually immovable. And which is why, let us see where the Indian plate was, several million years back. Let us look at Indian plate 180 million years back. Indian plate was, very close to the South Pole, along with other cricket playing nations like Australia and South Africa. Coincidence that they are all cricket playing nations, but you see that India was part of a large continent which had Australia, which had Africa and India, and this large continent broke up at about roughly on the top left of the picture. You can see 180 million years back this started this large continent started disintegrating, and Australia moved towards the east, India moved in the northeasterly direction, and Africa moved to west. So this is the movement as we approach. This is 120 million years back, 90 million years back. India is on its way 60 million years back. And 30 million years back, I am freezing it here, 30 million years back, India is approaching the large Eurasian plate. There is a sea in between where the arrow is, called the Tethys Sea, which soon dried up, and India went on and collided with the large Eurasian plate. And, it is a small plate pushing against a large Eurasian plate. You cannot push it. It's like an auto rickshaw hitting against a truck. The truck is not going to move anywhere. And what has happened is the Indian plate actually crumpled and went under the Eurasian plate, and land started rising up on the other side, forming what we call the Himalayas. Actually, you can see one plate going under the other plate, in a process called subduction, and mountains forming on the other side. And all these mountains, all the Himalayas, were formed by tectonic activity only. Mount Everest was formed by tectonic activity. Millions and millions of years and millions of earthquakes have resulted in the formation of these mountains. As late as the 2015 Nepal earthquake, the whole Kathmandu Valley is supposed to have lifted by 4 centimeters, 4 centimeters uplift. So this is how mountains are built, these earthquakes which happen, because this is the plate boundary. You can see the black line shows the plate boundary. Everything, the landmass below the black line is the Indian plate, and everything above the black line is the Eurasian plate. So many of our states, including J&K, Himachal, most of Uttarakhand, are all in the Eurasian plate. You can just look at where the mountains are, and that is all in the Eurasian plate, and the flat land is in the Indian plate. And this plate boundary cuts right through Nepal, passes through Uttarakhand, cuts right through Nepal, goes below Sikkim onto Assam, Arunachal, and comes down close to Mizoram through Myanmar and goes down to Andaman Nicobar Islands, and then passes on to Indonesia. And the stars you see in this picture are all major earthquakes, because this is where two plates are pushing against each other. One is trying to push against the other is not allowing it to move. These plates are locked in time, and when the rocks cannot take this pressure any longer, it breaks, and that is what we feel as a major earthquake. And where there has been a big earthquake, some of that pressure is released. So let us look at where all the pressure has been released. You see this earthquake right at the top is the Pakistan earthquake, Pakistan occupied Kashmir earthquake, Muzaffarabad earthquake in 2005. You come down the plate boundary, there is a 1905 Kangda earthquake, 120 years old now almost. And then you come along the plate boundary, there are two small earthquakes in Uttarakhand, Uttarkashi earthquake and Chamoli earthquake, but very small, cannot be even show it as a star because it was a 6+ magnitude earthquake. Though it killed over 100 people, but yeah, it was small compared to what the Himalayas can produce. And you come down the plate boundary, you see the Nepal earthquake of 2015. Further down, you see the 1934 Bihar Nepal earthquake, which was a really 8+ magnitude earthquake. Come down the plate boundary, just below the plate boundary is the Shillong earthquake, 1897. And then you go where the plate boundary takes a turn in Arunachal China border. We had an Independence Day earthquake, August 15, 1950, an 8+ magnitude earthquake, the last big earthquake on Indian soil is the 1950 earthquake. And then you come down the plate boundary, Andaman Nicobar had a 1941 earthquake, which created a small tsunami on the west coast of India, the east coast of India. And you go down below, there is the Indonesian earthquake of 2004, Boxing Day tsunami generating earthquake, which devastated the Indian states of Tamil Nadu, parts of Kerala, Andaman Nicobar Islands, of course, the countries of many countries, including Sri Lanka and Maldives. So this is the plate boundary we are living very close by. And as far as Delhi is concerned, you see between Kangra earthquake of 1905 and the Nepal earthquake, the plate boundary has been really quiet. There has not been a major earthquake in this plate boundary for over 500 years. Is that good news or bad news? It is bad news because that plate boundary has not released energy for about 500 years, which means the pressure is building there. And if the pressure is building there, it cannot be very good for us in Delhi or anywhere in North India, including Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Haryana. All of this could be affected by something which can happen in the plate boundary along between Kangda and Kathmandu. They say that the further away you are from the last earthquake, which is in a way saying that you're always between two earthquakes. And the further away in time, the further away you are from the last earthquake, the closer you are to the next one. And the arrow shows the area which has actually had not broken for a long time. The seismic zoning map of India, the red part is seismic zone 5, and Delhi is in seismic zone 4. So how many zones are there? I know we really don't have the time to discuss. No, it is actually, that was a trick question. It's not 5 zones. It's only 4 zones. You can see the colors here in this map. There are only 4 zones. It used to be 5. There used to be a zone 1, which was called a safe zone or no risk zone. But later on, we found that there is no such space in the country. So we don't have a zone 1. We have the zoning map starting with zone 2, which is the blue. Zone 3, the mustard color one. Zone 3 along the coast, we have zone 3, parts of Tamil Nadu, parts of Odisha, parts of many parts of Uttar Pradesh and Punjab, West Bengal, are all part of zone 3, which is the moderate risk zone. And then we have the high risk zone in Delhi. It's in high risk seismic zone 4. High risk zone, and then we have the red zones, which are the zone 5 maximum risk zones. Part of it is in Srinagar area, the second part in Himachal in Kangra area, then the Uttarakhand, Uttarkashi area is also in 5. Then we have North Bihar, which is in seismic zone 5. The entire northeast except Sikkim is in seismic zone 5. Andaman Nicobar Islands are in 5. Parts of Gujarat, especially Kutch, is in seismic zone 5. Delhi is in 4. And just to help you remember, I don't know how many of you remember Latur earthquake in 1993. September, there was an earthquake in a place called Latur. That is where I'm showing my arrow, that is in Maharashtra. That killed about 8,500 people. Latur is in seismic zone 3. You can see the map. Latur is in seismic zone 3. Delhi is in seismic zone 4. So I hope I don't have to say more about the risk that can occur in Delhi. The seismic zoning map in another form is here. This is actually part of an app, which is where you can actually check the seismic zoning map on DMTPC has a seismic zoning map app. I will just tell you the name of the app is called India EQ Maps. India EQ Maps, it's an Android app which you can download, and you can go up to your district level to check the seismic zone of your district wherever you are. And this is a close-up of the North India seismic zones. You can see Punjab. Delhi's seismic zone map is easy. It's, take the Delhi map, fill it with deep red, and that is your seismic zone map, zone 4, where earthquakes of intensity up to 8 can occur as per the seismic zoning map of India. So earthquakes in the region, we have had a lot of earthquakes in the region. And here, there is one column which shows time of the earthquake. Does time matter in an earthquake? Does it matter whether the earthquake happens in the daytime or the nighttime? It does. Actually, which is better? If I ask many of you, most of you will say that a daytime earthquake is better. Given a choice between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m., many of us will choose the 11 a.m. earthquake. If I was a district collector of a district, I would choose 11 a.m. Because I will get a few hours to rescue people. There will be light, and I'll be able to save more lives. But if I was the principal of Miranda College, then a daytime earthquake on a working day, or if I was a principal of a school with 3,000 children in the campus, that may be difficult to handle for us. So then maybe a nighttime event is better sometimes. A school principal would say. So a nighttime earthquake may cause more casualties, but a daytime event, more percentage of students will be affected if it is on a working day because of unsafe, unprepared educational institutions. Why is preparedness important? Being prepared can save lives, and whoever you are, you're working in an institution, you're studying in an institution, you could be part of the team that pushes the college institution towards safety and a preparedness plan. How do institutions respond if the institution does not have a preparedness plan? There will be fear, there will be panic, there will be disorder, there will be confusion, lack of an appropriate response, and unnecessary losses. There was this earthquake in Afghanistan. I was reading about a report of an earthquake in Afghanistan, and how about 15 girls died in a school. And when I saw the headline, I thought it was that the school building had collapsed. And then I saw the photograph of the building, and nothing had happened to the building. And I was reading the report. It was just that there was no planning in that institution. And when the first shaking happened, the girls started running down the steps without any. There was no evacuation plan. They were running down the steps. A girl fell down. The others tripped on her, and about 15 girls lost their lives. Isn't that we call unnecessary consequences? Are we not, guilty that if we had not prepared and we are losing lives? That is what we are trying to avoid. In a prepared college, there will be less fear because we have already talked about it. There have been awareness sessions about it. There have been drills. So there is less fear. There are lives are saved. There are fewer losses, injuries prevented, organized evacuations. Devastating consequences are reduced. So how do we do disaster planning at a college? There are a few steps we have to take. One, the first thing is basic disaster awareness. Everyone in your institution, right from the principal or the head of the institution to the student, to the non-teaching staff, to the security guards in the institution, everyone in the campus should be aware of what can happen. The basic disaster awareness should be there. We call it BDA, which also stands for knowing what to do before, during, and after. We know what needs to be done before. Before a fire, we need to prepare for a fire. We need to get the fire extinguishers. We need to train. We need to prepare an evacuation plan. Before an earthquake, similar things. Most of the disaster management plans are similar with minor differences, minor but very important differences. So basic disaster awareness is the first step. Second step is preparedness, getting your preparedness plan ready. Third step is testing your preparedness plan through drills. And here I must warn all of us here that there is a difference between demonstration and drills. When somebody from the fire service or somebody comes to a college and demonstrates how to use a fire extinguisher, that is a demonstration. Don't confuse it with drills. A drill is a test of your evacuation plan. You have to prepare a plan. Everyone needs to be aware of it. And a drill is when you simulate a fire, simulate an earthquake, and you actually evacuate your students out to the open as if there was a fire or an earthquake. That is a drill because you're testing your evacuation plan. And when you have made your evacuation plan, maybe you didn't consider that a class on this side may be using the staircase on the other side, while the class on this side is using the staircase on this side. So when lines cross, when people cross, there is confusion. So that comes only when there is a plan and you do a drill. And after a drill, mostly you probably need to revise your plan because you're testing it. You see some mistakes, you have to revise your plan. Then, like I said, Delhi is in seismic zone 4. You may have many hazards within the institution, within the classrooms, within your chemistry labs, within your kitchens, within your hostels, which can fall down in an earthquake. Even if the building doesn't come down, things can fall down. So it is important to look for falling hazards. Last step, which may not be in your control, is to look at the safety of the building itself. The earthquake, I mean, we are in an earthquake-prone area. Is our building built earthquake resistant? So that may not be, in our hand. We can entrust some engineers to look at our buildings. But step 1 to 4 can be done by the institution and should be done by the institution. And it is nearly no cost. This effort, 1 to 4, is nearly no cost. And for safety, we need to keep doing 1, 2, 3, 4, then come back, do 1, 2, 3, 4, repeat 1 to 4. So let us look at non-structural hazards in colleges. This is a picture from the Gujarat earthquake. You see there are 2 buildings which were shaken by the same earthquake. One has completely come down. The other one doesn't even seem to have a crack on it. That is how good buildings can be built by engineers. For your information, the one building standing up is a government building, and the one which has fallen down is a private construction building. We always think that the government doesn't build well. That is the CPWD quarters for you. But what I wanted to bring out with this picture is that if I was living in that building which did not collapse, would I have been injured during the earthquake? I could have been. If I was sleeping right next to a large cupboard and the cupboard fell on my head, I would be injured. The building did not fall down, but what was inside the building actually injured me rather badly. So that is what we call falling hazards. I'll run a very brief video. It's a 2-second video from an earthquake in Kobe, and you can see the earth is started to shake, and this is from a news studio, and this things are moving around. This is the same video in slow motion. You can see the cupboards here. Most of this on wheels are just jostling around, but in our case, most of our cupboards in our institutions or in our homes are on wheels. They are going to be just falling down, and either they could fall on someone, or they could fall across doorways and prevent our exits also. So the building need not collapse for an earthquake to cause losses. As you can see, in libraries, it could be a big issue. And also when we see many of our school principals actually sitting with a lot of hazards around. This is a school in Guwahati, Assam, seismic zone 5. And I was telling ma'am that, ma'am, you have these shields which are above the cupboard for any small earthquake. Those will be the ones to fall down, and the cupboards will fall down when there is a big shaking. And then she has kept this trophy here for the guests. Everybody is considered. Everyone has a hazard, which can likely injured him or her. And we saw this picture right in the beginning of the session. And now I hope we are able to see the hazards which are there in earthquake. Do you see any hazards here? This is a hospital in Delhi, and this is the exit. And the cupboard has been kept there. An old cupboard has been kept in the exit. And now the exit itself has become smaller. It used to be a 2-meter exit. Now it is a 1.5-meter exit. And during an earthquake shaking, this cupboard is actually going to come down and fall across. And then we will expect people to bring their stretchers and wheelchairs and evacuate from this hospital. Is that happening? It's going to be very difficult. Small objects, but it's going to, be the difference between life and death for some. In any problems here, these oxygen cylinders lining up outside the burn wards, they are going to fall down and actually prevent people from the burn ward who are covered in burns to escape, who cannot walk easily, will be finding it difficult to escape. And we can easily anchor them using small L-shaped clamps, fixing them onto the walls, the cupboards, or most of the items can be anchored. So here is something going on in a school in Gurgaon. And when you talk about disaster management planning, one of the first steps to do is to have a committee of people. It is not one person's job. In many colleges I have seen, if Ravi sir, I'm just giving a random name, Ravi sir has gone for a disaster management training in NIDM, he becomes the Bakra. For any disaster related things, let it mark it to Ravi sir. It is all gone to Ravi sir. Ravi sir cannot do this alone. It has to be many people. It has to be a committee. So there has to be a college safety committee, and that has to include all the departments, representation from all the departments. If there are parents who can be included, very good. Some students should definitely be part of the college safety committee. And then this committee should be sensitized. There should be awareness given to them, awareness given to all the teachers, the non-teaching staff, and the students. Like I said, the basic disaster awareness part is here. Then you form disaster management teams. There may be teams required for evacuation. There may be teams required for awareness within the college, awareness on disaster management, fire safety team, a team of teachers and students who will be trained in fire safety. There will be a first aid team, a team within the college who can take care of the first aid needs of the institution in a fire or in an earthquake. A first aid team has to be formed, and their training, these trainings need to be regularly repeated. I cannot just designate a few people as the fire safety team and not give them training. We have to give them training, and the training given in 1983 is no longer valid. We have to repeat trainings. You cannot just say that, oh, you got trained many years back. No. These trainings have to be repeated. So formation of DM teams and training of DM teams is a very important part of the college disaster management planning. Looking out for falling hazards within the institutions, which are like if I were doing a hazard hunt in the hospital, I would have definitely asked them to remove the cupboard out of the way. Or the teacher and her trophies would have been, definitely the trophies would have been removed and the cupboards would have been anchored. So hazard hunt and fixing of falling hazards is one step, and development of the evacuation plan. Somebody had asked a question, how do we develop an evacuation plan for the students? We will just quickly touch upon that before we end here. And once you have an evacuation plan, it has to be disseminated. Everyone in the college should be aware of what the plan is. It's very, very important. It's not good that you make a very nice plan, print it out in color and keep it in the principal's cupboard. We have a disaster management plan, which is useless. If everyone doesn't know about it, it is useless. Everyone should know about it. So dissemination of the plan is important. And then a very important part of disaster preparedness is the mock drill. And again, I'm repeating, differentiate between drills and demonstrations. Demonstrations have a different value. Drills have a very, very important value, because demonstration gives you, visually tells you what to do. But in an evacuation drill, you yourself are evacuating. Your brain is getting tuned to this evacuation route and to this evacuation area, the steps to be done during an evacuation. So very important to test the plan with a mock drill and make corrections, revision of the plan. That will be the last step. So the college safety committee, sensitization, the formation of the teams, training of the teams, hazard hunt, and fixing, evacuation plan, dissemination of the plan, testing the plan, and a revision of the plan, and address all hazards. Address all hazards. You cannot just make a fire safety plan and forget about earthquakes. You need every hazard that can happen in the college should be considered, and we have to assign responsibilities. I mean, the basic of disaster management planning is to know who does what, when, and how. If you can answer, if everyone in your institution can answer these 4 questions, who does what, how, and when and how, then your disaster management plan is ready. If I'm a student in your institution, I should know my role. What is my role? As a teacher, what is the teacher's role? As a principal, what is the principal's role? What is the security guard's role? Everyone should be aware of their role in this disaster management plan. So find out, first step in developing an evacuation plan is finding out where are we going to take them. I mean, actually we are starting from the last destination. Where are we going to take the children? Where are the children going to be assembled? Find that place. You have a lot of open areas in your institution. So identify an area which is away from buildings, away from any electric lines or hoardings, anything which can fall onto this area. So have this designated open area marked as your assembly area, disaster assembly area. You should mark it as your disaster assembly area. Now we have to see where each classroom, how each classroom will reach this place. So if I'm on the 2nd floor of your building, which has two staircases, and I'm closer to the staircase A or B. Okay, another important thing is, please mark your staircases. Give names to your staircases. Staircase A, B, you can call it whatever you want, but everyone should have the same knowledge. And for rooms in your institution, please give room numbers. So it is not, the commerce first year's evacuation plan. It is room 303's evacuation plan. So even if the class shifts, that room 303's evacuation plan will remain the same. And for them, because they are close to staircase B, what they do is they get out of the classroom using both the doors, they turn right, come towards the staircase B, and keep to the right side of staircase B and evacuate down. That is the simple way of evacuating down. And from the foot of the staircase to the assembly area, how we can get them as quickly as possible there, away from any falling objects. So assign each room a route and a safe assembly area. The route should be direct, and try and, as much as possible, preventing congestion at the stairs. Here, your security cameras will play an important role. During the drill, watch which staircase empties first. And if staircase A is emptying in 3 minutes and staircase B is taking 6 minutes, you probably have to assign 2 more classrooms to staircase A, so that there is equally distributed, so that the children evacuate, the students evacuate quickly. And we need to prevent congestion in the corridors and the stairs. If there are children with special needs, who may not be able to evacuate on their own, we have to plan for them. Who will help them? Who will be assisting those students with special needs? Has to be part of this, the college evacuation plan itself. Actually, in many institutions, I have seen them forming a buddy system where the students are paired for the evacuation planning. So Ram and Shyam are buddies, and if on that day after the evacuation Shyam is missing, we just have to ask Ram, where is Shyam gone? So it's easier for the class manager. If there are 30 students, you are looking at 15 pairs of buddies, and it's much easier task to handle and get them to safety. Exit should be kept clear at all times. And this is where the disaster management teams will play a very important role. Like in one of the schools we were working in, there was some construction and the contractor had taken over the evacuation area, the assembly area. He had filled it with construction material, and it was the safety committee which alerted. Now, what happens if there is a need for a drill now? How do we evacuate? That is our assembly area. He cannot use that space. So then the school management had to got the contractor to remove the materials from that assembly area. It was very, very important. That is a sacred space for us. We cannot let it be encroached. So, this is an example of how the evacuation plans can be done. This is from a school which, shows the different floor. Arrows are shown in different colors. So if there are 3 floors, you can use 3 different colors for the people who are evacuating using the stairs. This is the ground floor of an institution where you see people coming in from the second floor are all green, and coming from the first floor are all blue, and the red ones are the ones in the ground floor itself, and together they go to the playground or assembly area. Evacuation drills should they be automatic? I doubt it. If there are good announcement systems, it should be announced, and which is why the announcement system should be independent of electricity, because almost always in a disaster, electricity fails. And sometimes if there are 3 buildings in an institution and one of the buildings is on fire, do we need to evacuate the other 2? Possibly not. We need to evacuate that, focus on that. So partial evacuation is also possible. So that is where the head of the institution or somebody we call the incident commander there will make decisions. Okay, I'm evacuating building A, but I'm not evacuating buildings B and C. So that comes through practice. And in a fire drill, when there is a siren, you need a siren. for emergencies, or something loud and distinguishable as an emergency should be there. And on hearing the siren, the staff will actually, try to find out where is the fire. Maybe the staircase is the place where the fire is, so you cannot go evacuate that way. You may have to take a different route. So class evacuates to assembly as per the zone, and staff checks the classroom so that nobody is missing, somebody is trapped there, and then they close, but they don't bolt the doors, because in case somebody is still there. So they don't lock the door, but they bring the students down to the area and takes a roll call. If someone is missing, that has to be reported, and a safety search and rescue team, which is part of the disaster management team, will be assigned to look for the missing student or students. First aid should be provided. And in an earthquake drill, actually we need to also, during an earthquake, the chances of something falling on us directly is high, so we need to protect our head, neck, and spinal cord. So it is best that you can drop under a sturdy table and take protection so that there is no direct impact on us. So we call it the drop, cover, hold on exercise. So during the earthquake shaking only, we protect ourselves, and then after the earthquake shaking is over, we follow the steps out through the staircases and to the open area, and the drill remains the same in a fire drill or the earthquake area. Only the beginning it is different. In a fire drill, we have to ascertain the source of the fire. In an earthquake, during the shaking, we need to protect ourselves before we start moving. The earthquake has to stop before we start moving. So the steps again, I'll just quickly recap. Forming the college safety committee, the sensitization for everyone, the basic disaster awareness, formation of the disaster management teams, the evacuation teams, the search and rescue teams, the first aid teams, the fire safety teams, and all that. Training of the disaster management teams, looking for hazards and finding them and fixing them. Developing the evacuation plan, disseminating the plan, carrying out a mock drill, and revising the plan based on your findings in the mock drill, and so on. This is going to repeat. When will you have a perfect plan? You probably will not. You will never have a perfect plan. It is always work in progress. And that is how it should be. We will always make our plan better. And anyway, in our plan, new students will come in, new teachers will come in, old students are gone out. Our plan needs to be revised every year and tested, twice a year, if possible, through mock drills. Address all hazards. So I will quickly also talk a little bit about family preparedness. It is not enough that our college is prepared. We all should also talk about preparedness with our families, because they also need to have this awareness. And you are looking for hazards not only in college, you need to look at hazards at home also. Look for fire hazards and earthquake hazards. And you discuss where each one of you will be if there is a nighttime event and if it's a daytime event. If it's a daytime event, the chances are that many people will be scattered. One will be in college, another will be in school, two will be in two different offices, somebody will be at home. So how do we all get together, discuss and decide on a plan of what each one of you will do? The child going to a school will probably wait for the father or mother to reach there from office. Where he or she will wait will be decided by them. You go to a school which is in chaos after an earthquake, and you have about 3,000 children there, you'll be finding it very difficult to identify your child. So it is best that you fix a place where you can meet. So that is part of the responsibilities. Like I said, who does what, when, and how. That is what fixing responsibilities are, And that is what preparedness planning is all about. So if the child knows where he or she will wait and who will come to get her, that is one part of the plan. And then they will decide, okay, where do we go from here? Do we walk home, or do we go and meet mother at her office and then walk home? What will Nani, who is at home, or Nana, who is at home, do? Will he come out to the open area in the park and wait in one place with a family preparedness kit? These are possibilities of family disaster management plan. It is very important because in a college, during an emergency, especially the leaders of the institution, will be expected to remain there and manage things. But you are also a member of a family. And your thoughts will also be, what happened to my spouse? What happened to my child who's in school? What happened to Nana who's bedridden? Your thoughts will be there. So you need to help them manage themselves by preparing a family preparedness plan. That is very important. And everyone's family preparedness plan is an important step in your college disaster management plan as well. But when I speak to colleges, mostly, many a time the feeling is that, this is not our job. Our job is to teach history, geography, geology, all those nice, interesting subjects. Disaster management, that is the SDMA's job, the NIDM. Chandan Ghosh sir of NIDM will handle it. No. It cannot be like this person. The photograph is interesting because the person who was supposed to draw the line along the side of the road, he was doing his job when a branch which had fallen, he saw that. Moving that branch, no, that's not part of my job. That is not part of my job. My job is to paint. So he painted around it. We cannot paint around disasters. At some point of time or the other, we will have to face disasters. And we better be prepared when that moment comes to us. As an institution, collectively, let us be prepared. Let us, not say, this is not my job. Let us be prepared, because disasters affect different communities differently. You can see these two dogs have been wading in the mud, and how they have been affected by the same mud can be seen. For one, it is right up to the neck, and the other one, it's only barely touching the legs. We have to stand tall in the face of disasters, and we have to prepare and prevent rather than repair and repent. So let us start our preparedness right from today. Thank you very much for this opportunity in NIDM, and I hope Miranda House has gained something by this, and that Miranda House will take steps after this training program. You've been listening to, Dr. Arya. There have been many others, Dr. Chandan Ghosh. Use this. It is not just another workshop. We have picked one more workshop. This has to lead to action and preparedness and drills. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very informative and encouraging presentation. I'm sure those who are listening to you, they must be aware about the institutional role and importance of the educational institution in disaster management. Now we will have some questions and queries from our today's speaker, Dr. Rakesh Arya, sir, and Dr. Hari, sir. Anyone has any question for Dr. Rakesh Arya, sir? Yes.
Dr. Arya, I had a small question.
Yeah. Yes, please.
This is Hari Kumar.
Yes,
I
sir.
saw your slide on child trafficking and all that wonderful map of a very sad thing which is happening. And In emergencies, we always believe that in an emergency, we talk about first response by the police, the villagers, and everyone. But in one of the presentations, I read that the first responder is often the child trafficker,
Yes, sir.
because a disaster is an opportunity for them, and they immediately come in, and which is why children go missing after disasters. We can come right from Orissa super cyclone to the tsunami. I mean, children have been missing. So that map is very interesting. Maybe I'll get in touch with you on email to see how these figures have been reached and all that. It's not a question, sir, just to show
Yes.
appreciation for what you have done, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, actually, that was the work I have been doing with the Bachpan Bachao Andolan. They have a huge data basically, and the purpose is to, because data is there, spatial modeling was not there. If the spatial modeling is done, so we can easily identify the resource areas, origin areas, as well as destination areas. Definitely, they have their own mechanism for the calling or for informations. But my task was that to identify the reasons, where is the destination area, where is the source areas, and what are the possible causes. Because in the GIS, in the mapping, we know that it is not a single cause for certain things. If there is a frequent drought or the flood, definitely the migration of the children from that region will be there. If there is cyclone, more chances of there. And definitely the source region, means the destination region, must have certain opportunities of that kind. Suppose in the Chandigarh area, in the Delhi region, or in certain region, especially in the Chandigarh region, I found that children were mostly employed in the household work. In the region around the Delhi, and in the region around the, suppose around certain regions, there are certain industries which employ the child. In the Mumbai, the scenario is different. For the south region, means south region and the western region was mostly the destination region. So this was the one of the thing. And if you can see that there is another thing that has been that I was telling about the source region. If you can see my screen right now, this is basically used for the destination and source region, and it is also web. Can you see my screen, sir?
No, it's okay, sir. I mean, I think they are in a hurry to close also,
Oh,
so
close.
we
Fine,
should
fine,
not leave them.
fine, fine, sir.
Thank
Fine,
you.
fine.
Thank you so much, sir. This
Okay.
is very informative.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we have another question for Dr. Rakesh Arya, sir, by Dr. Ankita Mehdi. You
Yes,
may
please.
proceed.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, as you have been involved in developing the mobile applications for forest fire and as well as some other applications, I actually wanted to ask that what should be the considerations for preparing and developing a particular app specifically for fire hazard in urban areas, and approximately how much time it will take to develop that, and is there any legal permission to be taken from the government?
Uh, Actually, apps are developed on two platforms basically right now. One is the Android app, another is based on the Swift language, that is of Apple. They are free. Anyone can develop the app and freely distribute through their distributors. Like the for the Android, there is a Android console is there. Means console is there. One can easily by giving $25, one can create an account and they can create their app and upload it. It is totally free. There is no permission is required. If they are using in their app in the backend data, if they are using certain sensitive data that should not come through, definitely the permission from the particular department will be required. Otherwise, for developing the app for anything, suppose if I want to develop the app for anything like suppose स्ट्रीट लाइट कहाँ खराब है या कहीं पे मेन होल कहाँ पे खुला हुआ है, इस तरह तो उसमें किसी का हमको सेंसिटिव डाटा ले नहीं रहे हैं. हम सिटीजन सेंट्रिक अप्रोच अपना रहे हैं. सिटीजन पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं. सपोज हमने बायोडाइवर्सिटी के लिए हमने कहाँ कहाँ बटरफ्लाइज किस किस स्पेसीज की मिलती है, हमने इसके फोटो कुछ जियो टैग किया, उनको करते रहे. एक रिपोजिटरी में जा रहा है, कोई परमिशन की जरूरत नहीं है. इसको डेवलप करने के लिए देखिए तरीका होता है एक्सपर्ट टू एक्सपर्ट डिपेंड करता है. इसमें क्या होता है कि यदि आप फ्रीली करना चाहें तो देयर आर सर्टेन, देयर इज अ कोडुलर, KOUDLAR, कोडुलर MIT ऐप इन्वेंटर, जिसमें कोडर की जरूरत नहीं है, कोई प्रोग्रामिंग की जरूरत. जावा, इसमें जावा स्क्रिप्ट में जावा लैंग्वेज का इस्तेमाल होता है। तो जावा लैंग्वेज का इस्तेमाल होता है, इसमें उसकी नॉलेज की जरूरत नहीं, सिर्फ आपको ब्लॉक्स को अरेंज करना पड़ता है, लॉजिक्स को लगाना पड़ता है, आपको डेटाबेस क्रिएट करना पड़ता है, आपका काम बन जाता है। अदरवाइज अच्छे ऐप बनाने हैं तो आप डेवलपर्स का मदद ले सकते हैं। लॉट ऑफ पीपल आर अवेलेबल ऑन द लिंक्डइन, there they can create the app. I think very good app they can create in the 2 to 3 something like in the lakhs of rupees only. So it is very so
Okay. Thank you so much.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you
I
so
think-
much, sir, for very yeah. Yes, sir.
I think
You may proceed.
I'm able
Yeah.
I think I'm able to answer the question. I am not yeah. That is the question. Ankita ji.
Yes. Ankita, you can.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very informative lecture on the risk assessment and mapping of the e-forest fire, and for telling the importance of the e-forest fire app. I am so many of us not aware about this app, like how we can approach for this app and what's the importance of this app. Thank you so much, sir, for this amazing lecture and very informative session. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much. Thank you
Now
all.
we have another question for Dr. Hari, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, there's a question by candidate Muhammad Sadafuddin. He's saying that, sir, kindly explain in simple way how to evacuate the building from fire.
Did I not say that? I did. I saw the question and I answered it also during my presentation. It was done.
Okay, I'm sure
I hope
so he will able to understand.
Sadafuddin
Yeah.
sir, is that okay?
Now, sir, there's one more question. Concept of Emergency Operations Center, EOC, was conceptualized, but is it really functional at a ground level? So there's a question by Jayaprakash Singh.
See that if Miranda House has an emergency operations center, I mean it's a concept, and if you keep manning it, and if you provide all the equipment which is required, then that will be a successful EOC. That will be a successful EOC. Delhi Disaster Management Authority has an EOC which is working very well. There are many states where a EOC became the centers of activity during COVID response. So that depends on the department. The concept of EOC is very good, but it depends on whether you nurture it and keep it functional and provide. I mean, the changes of an EOC are rapidly developing. Communication technology is developing by the hour, let us say. And if we want a state-of-the-art EOC, we will have to invest in it. And the concept is good, but depends on how well we nurture it, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Any other question if anyone wants to ask? Okay, I think there's only question. So thank you so much, Hari sir, for your very informative lecture on structural as well as non-structural hazards that indicated about the Delhi also, that we all know that Delhi is a very in high earthquake prone area, and you have been also indicated about the basic concept of the building of mountains and tectonic movements of the plates, India EQ map, as well as disaster planning at college and institutional levels, with major steps to save colleges and many principles for the evacuation of the plan. Thank you so much, sir. To our today's both eminent speaker, to Dr. Rakesh Arya sir as well as Dr. Hari sir. Now we have Professor Ghosh with us. Sir, there's any observation from your side? Professor Chandan Ghosh, sir? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Of course, it is always pleasure to take the last photo of Dr. Hari to see that in disaster management, especially the road marking. It is a very iconic photo which really gives that non-alignment, you can say, in disaster management approach, that which really gives a very sarcastic way of our attitude towards disaster management. And sarcastic still, I think it is more than a decade and a half, I think, Hari, this syndrome or such kind of awareness emphatically going on across the country, and many such conference, seminar, as well as making disaster specific audit reports made by Geohazard Society, especially for the state of Assam, Aizal, yes, I remember. So it is, one thing is having such kind of interactions and presentations these days, even online or physical mode also before COVID. But at the same time, working for the society, whatever is being shared or whatever is being said, it is also being done for number of states and organizations. And it is being followed in that way. So my only thing is that as this particular program is for institutional arrangement, that how it is to be made, especially considering Miranda House as an example. So I would say that all the participants and all their organizers here, including NIDM, let us make this all as a workable example, taking Miranda House institutional area as an exemplary things about taking care of the non-structural part and structural part also. Yesterday I have shown some of the very modest way of making lightweight construction, extending many of the area, of course under rules and regulation, whatever it is, and also keeping some kind of measurement where students are there. And we saw that in November there is one weather stations are there, but hardly anybody is able to identify whether it functions or not. So that gives a very bad impression about our system and the way we take it. So we would like to see that some of the system which are the modern system, that which I have yesterday also I have mentioned, that some of those devices to be installed so that some of the data, whether it is carbon dioxide monitoring or SOx, NOx or whatever monitoring which are being sensed through sensors, those can be displayed and those can be checked by the students and teachers all together, so that the state of health, especially the yesterday's topic also, state of health of the building, whether institutional building, residential building, office building. So state of health of the building, not touching the building, but the ambience that can be captured through some of these devices, so that we can every day we can see that what are the data and how they are changing, and what are the developments that have taken place over the years. Whether it is a fire, because the focus is on fire and earthquake. So especially the fire aspects, there are some devices again available which can be installed there and to have a 24/7 surveillance. So I have one thing to add here is that tomorrow maybe there will be a panel discussions that we would like to see that the entire map of Miranda House is to be reproduced during presentation, especially I see, and escape routes and everything what Dr. Hari has shown, that can be identified even using Google Map, because we are all doing online, but those can be shown, at least the main gate, exit gate, and then inside what are the assembly points and where the labs are there. So during discussion, I would say that one of the panelist from Miranda House will take the audience with some of the photographs, physical photographs from there during the panel discussion, which is about 40-45 minutes. And on the other hand, that I'll bring some demonstration that how to keep the dust not to fly. I'll show demonstration from here itself, how to keep the dust more than 7 days at the same spot, and what are the kind of spray other than water to be used, so that for 1 week they will not fly, 1 week to 10 days. Then spray it again, maybe another 10 days. So our critical period in Delhi happens in November, December for the pollution. And we can see still on the road that mist are being thrown, water is being thrown even today also. I saw that while coming to my office. So what are the household arrangement, community arrangement, institution level arrangement can be made, some of these kind of items which are available in the market, that if we spray these things, then we can check some of the dust flying in our courtyard or around our courtyard. So these things I will demonstrate tomorrow. And I hope that
Yes, sir.
tomorrow we come with.
Yes, sir. So. Thank you so much, sir, to joining us and for your continuous support and guidance. Thank you so much to our today's speaker, Dr. Hari sir and Dr. Rakesh Arya sir, for your overwhelming and very informative sessions. And now tomorrow we will have our session basically on the seismic and fire safety of non-structural components by Mr. Sonik Mitra and Arvind Chakravarti from Seismic Academy and Fire Stop Academy, Hilti, India, followed by panel discussion and vote of thanks. Now over to you, Ankita.
Yes. Hari Kumar sir, we have a very humble request to you that if you could share your PPT with us, that would be very nice of. Okay, thank you so much, sir. And before ending this meeting, I'd like to now request all the participants to switch on their cameras so that we can take a group photograph. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Hari. Thank you, Dr. Arya.
So now we can end the session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much to our today's speakers as well as to Professor Bose. And thank you so much to our participants also for patiently listening. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Salinder, can you please end this meeting?
म्हणजे सावित्रीबाई फुले युनिव्हर्सिटी नाही का शेअर केली होती. गव्हर्नमेंट मान्यता